So this video is aimed at anyone completely new to improvisation, or maybe they want to kind of review their improvisation, rethink where they're starting from. It's going to be for like complete beginners, how I'm going to aim this. There's only a couple of things we need here is the backing track, because it's always useful to have some kind of context. I mean, you can improvise, jam around noodle with your licks all day long, but if you've got some kind of bed for it to sit on, a backdrop, a scene, it gives it more context. And we've got some backing tracks, all of which are available to anyone taking lessons with me. These are freely available as part of your lesson. The scale we're going to use is probably one of the simplest scales I can think of, certainly, and that's the scale of G pentatonic major. Again, this is in one of the books that accompanies the backing track, but I'll run through it quickly here. Starting on the open G string, it's open, then fret 2, then to the B string, open, fret 3, and the high E, the skinny string, open, and 3. So that's the G pentatonic major scale we're going to use. Could be seen as quite limiting because there's only half a dozen notes there, but it means you've got to make more use of your improvisation variations and phrasing, which we're going to talk about shortly, to make it interesting. Less is more, you could apply that. But what you can certainly apply to this is it's not what you play, it's how you play it. And one of the first things I never got to grips with when I was shown improvisation, I just said, there's a scale, mix the notes up. So I did, and it didn't make sense. It was just... and it was just a racket, like that was, you know. You need to, it's, as I said, it's not what you play, it's how you play it. And what is meant by that is the phrasing. It's all about the phrasing, the rhythm, how you play the notes. To give you a quick example, I'll play to the backing track we're going to use, and I'll use really bad phrase. Now, I'll play a bit like I did there. Everything's played with the same duration, the same intensity, and you'll see what I mean. It's not a nice backing track. And I'll kind of play the notes at random, as I did when I first started many, many years ago. I shan't tell you how many. Okay, here we go. So on and so on. You get the idea. Somebody out there might like that. I think it's pretty horrific myself. There's nothing to it. It's stale, it's stagnant, it's mechanical, it's not good. All right, let's strip it right back. We're going to just use one note. And this is what I'm going to suggest doing to anybody starting improvising. I always do. I want you to check out this. Just one note. We'll take the note right in the middle of the scale, the 3rd fret on the B string. We don't care what note it is. It's actually note D, but we're not worried about that. So what I'm going to play is just that one note. How boring can that be? Well, let's see. We're going to make it interesting by varying the rhythm, the phrasing of the note. We're going to use slow ones, some quick ones, maybe some short ones, maybe some long ones, some quiet ones, and some loud ones. And that's all basically down to this hand. Let's do a lot of the control. We'd also put some gaps in there because leaving some silence there, it's a full stop at the end of the sentence. Think of all of your licks as phrases being sung by a singer. They need to stop for a breath every so often, and that also gives you buys you a little bit of time to think about your next move. You can plan your next lick. Okay, let's do it. So just one note, fast, slow, loud, quiet, quick, short, whatever. Here we go. Okay, so there we go. There's a bit more variation there. I guess not a very exciting guitar solo, but to my ears, it's better. It's more musical than the first example I gave you. So you're going to get fed up with that after a while, but get that right and the rest of it will come easier. So now you've got some phrasing to, you know, loud, quiet, fast, slow, long, short, and the silence. We can now add some other notes in there. And a good place to start is perhaps the same string. A nice little easy scale. There are obviously other scales we can use with loads more notes. Forget those. We're going to keep it simple, less to worry about. And also, there's other techniques you can apply, bends, vibrato, but forget it. We're just thinking about rhythm. We're just looking at this hand, what this hand can give us for a guitar improvisation piece. So I'm going to do one or two phrases, and I'll break them up with a long note or a bit of silence. So here we go. And I'm going to use the B string, fret 3, and the open note. Here we go. So on. So it's getting a bit more interesting. Again, some of you may consider it boring. I'm sure you get fed up with doing that after much longer than that. Excuse me. So now, using the rest of the scale, we're going to do a few more phrases, but when we get a bit fed up, we want to change. We're going to jump to one of the other strings. So we'll start with the B string, open and 3. And then after a few phrases, I'll jump to the E string, which is open and fret 3. And then I may hop back to the B string, or the other one I could use is the G string. Open and 2 on the G string. So again, it's not too exciting because I'm just sticking to 2 notes per phrase, but let's have a listen and see how it sounds. Let's see if we can make it a bit more exciting. So that's starting to sound a bit more like a guitar solo of some kind. So to emphasize again, it's not what you play, it's how you play it, it's the phrasing of the notes. I was using the minimal amount of notes possible there, but varying the phrasing. The next step from that is you're free to wander around all of the notes in that scale, all 6 of them. Don't feel that you've got to use all these 6 notes, you know. With creating your improvisation piece, it's like cooking, cooking your fancy dish. You're painting the picture. Each note is an ingredient or a color. You're not going to use all ingredients and all colors in equal amounts. You know, you're going to probably use lots of some and few of others, depending how it fits. Each note has its own color or its own flavor. Some people like certain flavors more than others, and some are more fitting than others. So let's go for it. I'm going to do the same thing again, working on the phrasing, but I'm going to jump around all 6 notes. And again, I'm still not playing with any techniques with the hand. No slides, vibratos, all the fancy stuff. That's for another subject. Okay, let's give it a go. Let's mix it up. Again, notes as well. After each phrase, there's a long note or a gap to break it up. Give you thinking time. Give the listener thinking time to absorb and digest what they're hearing. Their meal that you're now cooking for them. One more time. So it's starting to become a bit more interesting, but the phrasing's there. I'll do that one more time, but this time I'll use no phrasing to go right back to what we said at the start, where everything sounds the same. Okay, here we go. That's a bit wooden sounding. You know, imagine being spoken to by a robot where everything sounds the same and there's no variation to the phrasing. It gets very boring. A bit like probably when some primary school kids first learn to read and the cat and the dog run over the bridge and they sort of, it's putting the notes across, but there's no life, no feeling to it. And that's what happens a lot of the time with improvisation. Again, if you want to kind of develop it further, use less notes, more phrasing. And as I said, all these backing tracks, the scale, the tab, the notation goes with it. One last little thing to think about, whatever you play, you're going to be right. This is your creation, your piece of music, so you can't go wrong. Okay, you may actually stand on a bum note that doesn't belong in the scale. You know, that sometimes happens. But as long as you stick to the scale, it's your piece of music. And the cool thing is, every time you play this, you will get better. If you've got a lick you like, a cool lick, stick it, play it again. Try and play it the same way twice. And then put it in your collection of cool licks and tricks. So the next time it comes up, you've got a few little ideas up your sleeve. And the cool thing with those is they can be applied to many styles of music. You could have a fast piece. We could have a slow piece with the same lick can be applied. The more you do this, the more fluent you will get in your vocabulary of licks, and you're armed ready to do it. As for choosing the right scale for your piece of music, that's a subject for another date. On this occasion, I'm telling you what scale, I'm going to suggest what scale goes with what backing track to work on your phrasing. Beyond that, it's a topic for another video. So get improvising, bear in mind those tips. If it's not all gone in, rewind, watch again, pick up a few of the ideas. I don't expect you to copy any of these licks I'm doing here. These are just ideas to get you going. Remember, it's not what you do, it's how you do it, which goes for life. See you next time.